Hey guys, welcome back to The Bright Side. Macy here, the Bright Side Girl, and today I'm going to be talking about some books that have earth magic. Elemental magic is one of the reading prompts for Hikeathon, my spring nature physical activity themed readathon. I'll link all the information for it down below in the description. So I thought I'd come to you today with some earth magic recommendations. This particular elemental magic is especially good for Hikeathon since it's themed around kind of nature and being outdoors. So all of these books have some kind of magic that works with nature and the earth. I've got 10 books to share with you today. They're all pretty different from each other, so we are just going to dive right in. All right, first we have the Hazelwood. Now I will say I still have mixed feelings on how I feel about this book. I did not love the first half of it when I read it, but I adored the second half, and I feel like most people felt one way or the other. So we're following Alice, and she has always been on the road with her mother with bad luck kind of like nipping at their heels. And when Alice's famous author grandmother dies alone in her estate, the Hazelwood, Alice's mother is stolen away by a creature who claims he is from the supernatural world where her grandmother's stories are set. And her only lead to find her mother is a note that she left behind that says, "Stay away from the Hazelwood." So the first half of this book, we're in the regular world and we're kind of getting to know Alice and her background, and it has a lot of like darker topics. Alice is a little bit of an unlikable character, and then the second half of the book we have a more fantastical, magical setting that I really enjoyed, more fairy tale-esque. But there is a lot of magic in here, a lot having to do with the woods and nature. I would recommend this one overall because it's such a unique read. Next we have Strange Sweet Song by Addie Rue. I cannot recommend this book enough. If you are looking for something really unique and captivating, this is the book for you. So I'm going to read you the synopsis just because I feel like I'm not going to be able to describe it as good. Outside Dumhand Conservatory there lies a dark forest, and in the forest they say lives a great beast called the Felix. But Sing de Novelli never put much faith in rumors and myths surrounding the school. Music flows in her blood and she is there to sing. The prestigious academy will finally give her the chance to prove her worth, not as the daughter of world-renowned musicians, but as an artist leading in her own right. Yet despite her efforts, there seems to be something missing from her voice. Her doubts about her own talent increase when she is cast as the understudy in the school's production of her favorite opera, Angelique. Angelique was written at Dunham, and the legend says that the composer was inspired by the forest surrounding the school, a place steeped in history and magic and danger. But was it all a figment of his imagination, or are the fantastic figures in the opera more than imaginary? This is so lovely. It has a lot to do with music and the woods and magical creatures. I really liked the opera setting. I really liked the mystery. There is a sweet little YA romance in here, and it's a standalone, so that's always good. Next we have Salt and Storm by Kendall Culpepper. I read this one for Mermaid Marathon several years ago, and I remember loving it so much. We're following Avery, and her birthright is to be the witch on Prince Island, making charms that keep sailors safe while they travel at sea for generations. But instead she's being held prisoner by her mother, who wants her to live a magic-free life. So she's supposed to be the next witch in this generation of witches on this island to help protect the island and the sailors, and her mother is not letting her do this and she's not sure why. We have a lot of ocean island vibes as well, so this is also perfect for Mermaid Marathon. I remember it was like heartbreaking, but in like the best way, and just so beautifully written, and it kind of took me by surprise. Love. Uprooted by Naomi Novik. I have not recommended this book in a hot minute, and it is so incredible. It's so well beloved. Look at all the blurbs because so many people love this book so much. So this is a loose Beauty and the Beast retelling. We are set in this kind of medieval type town, and there is this dragon that lives in this castle, and every like year or a few years he comes down and he takes a girl and brings her back up to his castle, and they're never heard from again. Then he'll come back and get another new girl. So the dragon's price for this is that he will protect this little town from these malevolent dark woods that have a lot of dark magic. He kind of keeps everything in order. He's kind of like a wizard, but they call him the dragon. And so then every 10 years he will come down and he'll take one of the girls as like his price for protecting this little town. So Agnieszka is afraid that they are going to take her best friend Cassia. She's the perfect example of the type of girl that he would take, but she does not know when he comes down that he is going to choose her. This is full of forest, wood, earthy magic. It is so good, so romantic. This one is an adult read. There is a tiny spicy scene in here, but the whole focus of the book is not that. And it is so magical. It does have a little bit more of a slower, more luxurious burn about it, but it's so great and I can't recommend it enough. You know I have to talk about Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This is one of my favorite series right now. I believe this is set in the 1900s and we are following Emily, who is writing this encyclopedia for different types of fairies. She goes to this little town to study this certain type of fae. The town folks are not very excited to have her here and they don't necessarily treat her the best, but she is determined to get her research done. She has a sweet black dog named Shadow. Then one of her competitors shows up and says that he wants to help her with the research, and she is not thrilled about this at all. They kind of go on this journey together. That's a really bad description. It's part of an adult series. It is so romantic, so sweet, so charming, so cozy, so funny. Emily is so snarky and powerful and determined. We have a lot of different talks of fairies in here, so I consider that kind of earth magic. Emily is writing to us in journal entries, and so we're learning her story and also the backstory on different types of fae throughout the whole book. It's a tiny bit of a slower burn at first, but it's just such a good time, and I love the love interest in here. He's so adorable. I love the second book as well, and they are perfect earth magic reads. Next, we have Stain by A.G. Howard. This was technically pitched as like a Princess and the Pea retelling, but it is so extremely loose that I wouldn't consider it that. However, it is a fabulous read. This one's set in a land where half the land is plagued by eternal daylight and half the land is plagued by eternal darkness. Lyra is cast out of the eternal daylight land by her wicked aunt, but she is saved by a witch. The witch steals her memories. Lyra cannot speak or make sound, and the witch raises her in the forest disguised as a boy that they call Stain. Meanwhile, in the rival kingdom, the land of perpetual dark, the Prince of Thorns and Night is dying, and the only way for him to break his curse is to wed the Princess of Daylight. This is, again, a little bit more of a slower burn, a very chunky book. So good, so unique, so magical, so much to do with like the forest and the woods, and it is just really, really underrated. Again, another fabulous standalone. Next, we have Wicked Lovely by Melissa Marr. This is a series I desperately need to start over and finish because I've only read the first book, but I really, really enjoyed it. It's been a while since I read it, so I'm going to read you the synopsis. Rule number 3, don't stare at invisible fairies. Aislinn has always seen fairies powerful and dangerous. They walk hidden in the mortal world, and Aislinn fears their cruelty, especially if they learn of her sight. She wishes she was blind to their presence as other teens. Rule number 2, don't speak to invisible fairies. Now fairies are stalking her, and one of them, Keenan, who is equal parts terrifying and alluring, is trying to talk to her, asking questions. Aislinn is afraid to answer. Rule number 1, don't ever attract their attention. But it's too late. Keenan is the Summer King who sought his queen for 9 centuries. Without her, summer itself will perish. He is determined that Aislinn will become the Summer Queen at any cost, regardless of their plans or desires. So good. Such a fun, like old school YA rom-com fairy book. We have all of the courts in here, summer, winter, all of that. It definitely has more of a winter vibe, even though it's supposed to be about summer, but they're kind of stuck in winter, I believe. If you need a unique fairy book, this is great, and it's like a 6-book series. And I really, really enjoyed this one. Winter Song by S.J. Jones. This was my favorite read of 2021. It is so incredible. So this is part of a duology, but I honestly would treat it as a standalone because I didn't really love the second book. Liesl grew up hearing the tales of the beautiful and dangerous Goblin King. They've enraptured her mind and spirit and inspired her musical composition. She's now 18 and she's helping to run her family's inn, and she starts to feel like her childhood fantasies of music are slipping away. When her sister is stolen by the Goblin King, Liesl has no choice but to venture into the underground to save her. So this one has a little bit of a Alice in Wonderland fever dream type quality about it. It is a Goblin King retelling. I'm not familiar with that original story. I love this one so much. This is YA. It does have romance in here. There is a tiny bit of spiciness, more than I expected for it being young adult, and I really, really liked it. The full plot is really good. It has so much to do with music, and because we've got this underground earthy forest goblin setting, we have a lot to do with the earth and nature and all of that goodness. So love. Splintered by A.G. Howard. I feel like I've been talking about this one quite a bit, another A.G. Howard book. This is an Alice in Wonderland retelling, first in a trilogy. So Lissa has the ability to talk to bugs and plants. Her grandmother is supposed to be the one that told all the wonderful Alice in Wonderland stories to Lewis Carroll. She claims they were her childhood experiences, but everybody kind of thinks she's crazy. And then Lissa's mother is actually in an asylum for being mentally unwell, and Lissa fears that this may be her fate as well. To break her family curse, Lissa must travel down the rabbit hole to Wonderland and right the wrongs of her family and the world. So it's really good. She talks to plants and bugs a lot, so this is a perfect elemental magic book. I really enjoyed this series, especially the first and the last one. Okay, lastly we have Walk on Earth a Stranger by Ray Carson. So this is a totally different vibe. In this one we are set during the gold rush, and our main character has the ability to sense gold in the ground. Because of this, she kind of has to hide this ability because people will try to take advantage of her and use her, so she keeps it hidden, but she does enough to kind of keep her family afloat. When everything in her world is ripped apart, she decides to flee west to California, where gold has recently just been discovered, and perhaps this is the one place where she can be herself. Here are my thoughts on this one. There is not as much about the gold magic as I wanted throughout the entire series. It's really more of like a Western journey, like almost Oregon Trail style book. There's a small romance in here. There's a lot of historical things that happen in here, inaccurate and accurate. It's definitely a fantasy world, but it's set like in the 1800s in the West. I really enjoyed this because the atmosphere was so unique and different than anything I had read. I hadn't read like a Western book before, I don't think. So if you're wanting that, then this is a good one. It's also very well written and the characters are enjoyable. I think I gave it a 3.5 overall. I really wanted to give it higher, but I needed some more of the gold magic. So just know if you want something unique and a little bit different with that Western vibe, this is a good one. Plus the book is stunning, which always helps, but not as much about the gold magic as you would like, but it is in there. Okay, you guys, so those are some Earth Magic book recommendations. Let me know if you have any more down below in the description. I'll probably be making part 2 sometime in the future. I hope to do one for water, air, and fire as well. I'll have to gather up my list and see what I can find. Don't forget to check out all the information about Hike-a-thon down below. Follow me on Instagram at The Bright Side Girl, and I'll see you guys next time on The Bright Side.